Welcome to this quick tutorial. I'm going to be showing you how to set up your shocks, in my opinion, the best way on the Hobbyplus Evo Pro brushless. They come without any oiling at all, and in my opinion, that's not how they're supposed to be run. I'm not quite sure what the reason was for shipping them out that way. There are some tools that I'm going to be using that you may not have. I'm sure, like I did for a long time, you'll be able to find a way around it. But I'll be including links to everything like these pliers in the description. So if you want to pick a setup and make things easier for yourself, you can do so. So the first step is we're going to pop out the ball joint that seats in the top of the shock, pull the spring down, and they're not done up very tight. They don't need to be super tight. So if you are doing these, don't over crank them. And as you can see, apart from a squirt of oil for lubrication, there is indeed not enough oil to make this an effective shock. So I'm just going to put this to one side for a second on a piece of paper towel that I've got to one side, and let that drain out. And in here you'll see the bladder, so we need to remove that bladder. I'm going to grab my long nose pliers. If I had some flat-ended tweezers, I would probably prefer to use those. But as long as you're gentle, this silicone seems to be pretty high quality. There we go. So let's pop that down there. And there's the bladder. We're going to pop the bladder on top of the FuryTech Lizard Pro. And we're going to grab our shock. I'm just giving it a little dab out of shot there. And we are, with this finger, we're just going to compress it ever so slightly. Let's grab our oil. I'm putting 500 CST in here, which many will say is too much. I don't actually have. Let's compress the shock. We're just going to put just a little under full in there. And then as you release it, it should spit out any air that's underneath. Push it all the way up and then pull it down. And that's the beneath the shock there. I'm just trying to angle it so the camera can see it. So we're going to fill it, but not all the way to the top. We're leaving a little bit of breathing room for the bladder. So we grab our bladder. Again, we push the shock up, and then we place the bladder on, and you should, as you release it, it should suck down. Right, we've created a little bit of pack, so we're just going to hold one side and burp a little bit of oil out and then let it suck down again. Hopefully there's no air built in. Let's just give it a little bleed. Let's get it on this camera so you guys can see it. We're just bleeding a little bit out. We got a little bit of air out there, and I think we're somewhere near perfect. I'm not getting any air out now. So then we grab our cap. I'll tell you what we are going to do is we're going to pull the shock spring down. Let's make sure it's on one of the cameras. I actually can't see a screen for the overhead. As you can see, we've burped out a little bit of oil, but that's good because you don't want to build it with pack, because if you do that, you've basically created a hydraulic piston, and that is not what we're building here. Excuse me 1 second while I just wipe it. It's a good idea to have some shop towel or some rag handy, because this stuff does get everywhere. Now we've added a little bit of pre-tension in to the setup, which I feel isn't completely necessary, but will benefit the system. And there we go. So let's return this up to a level. There we go. We can actually see some proper shock action happening there. Now I do believe that I've set the other side. Now you can do this by eye. This isn't a super critical measurement. I'm using the caliper because I've got one. Let's angle it so the camera can see it properly. Right, so the other side is 3.4, about half a turn. 3.45 is close enough. So there we go. Now, sprung weight and unsprung weight are very important. We're trying to reduce sprung weight as much as possible. So that's anything that the springs are holding up. So if we hang the top of the shock body off of the suspension, off of the chassis, it becomes sprung weight. But if we hang it upside down and it rests on the chassis, the only sprung weight we've got in the shock is here. So this improves low down weight in the truck, and it also improves your unsprung weight ratio. It'll improve your centre of gravity, etc. So that is why we removed this little collar and ball joint from the top, because when we reinstall it, we want it on the bottom. Take your shock pliers or whatever you are using to complete this task. Give it a gentle pop back in. With these, you don't need a lot of pressure. And at this point, we're ready to start refitting it to the frame. So we just grab the long screw that came out of this part of it. And let me orient the chassis so that we can see on the camera. We just drop that into there. We're going to match the hole for the other side. I chose to go with that one there. And to get this started, guys, I'm going to use my long nose pliers again. Tools like these aren't essential, except for when they are. And I'd say there are a few circumstances for this procedure where there are other ways you can do it, but so much easier if you've got the correct tools. Okay, that's pinched up. It is a nylock nut on the back of there, so you don't need to crank it all the way down. And for the final step, we'll make sure that we don't pull our drive shaft out. And I'm just going to get this so this camera can see it. Here's another case of it's nice to have long nose pliers if you've got them. So if you can see there, I'm just holding pinched there over the top of the ball joint, and a gentle squeeze and your shocks are on. And if we just pop these on, difficult shooting this, guys, the way I'm doing it. There we go. So we have increased the ride height. Let me just move the truck back for the front camera. We have increased the ride height ever so slightly with this setup. Things out in the field could change, but now we've actually got proper shock action. We'll have increased the breakover of the vehicle, but there's no way to get a gain without a loss. So we will also have decrease the amount of side hill. So I would carry on tuning this with the pre-tension springs in order to get to a ride height that is both good for side hill and incredible for breakover. These shocks are actually working properly. I'd say maybe we've got a little bit too much pre-tension in just by bench feel. But essentially, that's it, guys. That is how you rebuild the shocks. And in my opinion, running them upside down like this is going to benefit the chassis and the drivability of the vehicle, because you've moved a lot of that weight that was hanging off of the chassis to the axles. That's it for this one, guys. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.